Happy Friday, my favourite day of the week. How are you guys? I hope you're all right. Yep, Del, check your Facebook Messenger thing, mate. I've actually I actually recorded a waffle last night. Tonight's waffle last night, and I was meant to be doing a live, not a live stream. I was meant to be doing a video with Lawn Boys Post 1975. I was meant to be doing that tonight, but he's had to cancel. And so, I was going to be. I didn't actually know what I was going to do, and I thought, you know what, fuck it, let's do a live waffle, and I can just recycle tonight's waffle for next week. So there you go. Yeah, I have got absolutely bugger all to talk about. I've not made, because obviously I've made my waffle already, so I've got nothing to talk about. So get your questions in. Let me know what you want me to talk about, whatever. So yeah, excuse me. So yeah, it's actually been quite a quick week. Been very quick week. Starting to find my feet a wee bit in the job, which is good. For the first, I don't know, I reckon probably the first 2-3 weeks, you know, I really had no work to do, and I hate having that. I hate going in. I hate being in a job where, especially when there's, you know, when you're working with other people and you don't actually have anything to do. Now, some people would say that's brilliant, but when you've got people that are kind of, I mean, I've got a team of 6 that I work with. I'm their boss. I know, what a terrible thing, eh? And you're actually got nothing to do. It's not very good. But now I'm starting to kind of find my feet, getting busier. So really enjoying the job. I'm actually going. Where am I going? I've actually got to drive down to Ripley, which is kind of not far away from Birmingham. I've got that on Monday, so I'll be leaving about 5 o'clock in the morning. Before I forget, I'm going down to Nerg next Saturday. Hang on a second, who's this? Hey, up!
Yeah, bloody hell!
I know. I mean, just to explain things, I just went live. Went live. Is that proper grammar? I went live. Well, it's not gone live. I went live. And then I saw Dale comment, and I thought, so I messaged him, like, get your arse in here now.
I was going to say, going live was a BBC Saturday morning show, wasn't it? I mean, was it Friday?
Something like that. You're looking very swish, mate. I like your hair.
It's the same as it's always been.
Well, maybe it's just not unkempt like it usually is. You're looking.
Well, I've tried to smarten up from the last blog last Sunday where it was a bit disgusting, but I'd had a bit of a torturous time. Hasn't been the best of days today. I had some bad news, but that'll all be in the blog on Sunday. And
right, okay, yeah. Well,
you just got to look at these things and go, hey, it's Friday. It's Mainmeister Day.
Yeah.
So that's enough of that.
That's enough of that, mate. So yeah, apart from everyone else, how was your week? I was just talking to the viewers. I was just telling everybody my week's been a quick week. Starting to find my feet a wee bit in the job, which is good. And I'm actually driving down to Ripley, which is not far from Birmingham, I think, something like that.
Yes, it's in the M42 along there.
How far is that for you? Is that a wee distance? That's still a bit of distance.
That'd be 40 odd miles.
Is that all?
Yeah, Birmingham's about. You see, Coventry's 20 miles away, and Birmingham's 20 miles away from Coventry. So.
All right, I thought you meant you're 20 miles, you're 40 miles to Ripley. All right, so a cup of tea's at the question then, is it?
Yeah, I've always turned around and said, you know, depending on how my mother is and everything, that I'd always try and meet up with you, and I'd probably bring my mum along so that she can go to the cafe or something, you know.
Absolutely.
Just to take her out along the road, you know, because she wouldn't care whether it was the motorway or what. But Yeah, it'll happen at some point. Now,
That would be nice.
just to help you out, because I know that Friday is very much a time where you like to sit back and relax. I didn't want you to miss Emmerdale and Coronation Street. So
So
I've
is
put
that
those
what
on
we've
in the
got on?
background so you can watch that and know that you're not missing anything.
Fantastic. That's awfully good of you. What was it? What was it? You can tell I'm being sincere.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So, well, we don't want any spoilers for the blog on Sunday. And I was telling everybody that I actually recorded my Friday waffle last night, and again, I'm going to give a spoiler. Well, it's not a spoiler. It's nothing exciting. My broadband went down last night, so I phoned Virgin about 9 o'clock, and they said, "Oh, it's going to be it's planned to be back up by 2 o'clock." I went, "Oh, that's all right. I'll be in my bed by then." He went, "No, 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon." I'm like, "For fuck's sake!" I say. So it literally came up about 2 o'clock today. So it was a complete pain in the arse. I went downstairs and I thought I'll film on my phone and I'll use my laptop so I could look at the questions. So I put the laptop on and I had 1%. Like, fuck, right.
Yeah.
iPad on 0%. I'm like, bloody hell. So I ended up, that's one thing, and that's one thing I was having a good old rant about. Is it just me, or does anyone else, have we become so lazy that you've got something and you don't use it because you've got to charge it up and you just can't be arsed looking for the charger? Are you like that thing, Dale?
Well,
You can't be arsed.
I must admit, I try to tend to put my things on charge at night, and if I forget, then I know, oh, sod it, tomorrow it's going to be at like 10 or 15%. I'll have to get up, put it on quick charge or something, and then try and find some point during the day where I can put it on main charge. Do you know what I mean? But I do
Yeah.
know that I must admit it's not so bad now. But if we were talking 6 or 7 years ago, if the internet was down, I'd be like a crying baby. I'd be like, what am I going to do now? What, I can't get this. I can't watch this. I can't stream this. What am I going to do? There's nothing on telly, and I'd be waving my arms and flapping about. And now it's like, couldn't care less. If this has gone down, I'll probably look at something on my phone because I've got unlimited data on my phone. I felt actually bad for Steve this week. You're the friend of the channel, Steve. His router blew up or something on Wednesday, and then he bought the wrong router to get it the same day, and had to wait until the next day to get the right router, and it really pigged him off because he's been doing a lot of content recently. And I said, do you know what? I said, you're sounding just like I was 5 years ago. So it's amazing when you were talking about your Virgin being down, his router went down. So it looks like everybody's having a few little problems.
Yeah, he's just said that. I'll tell you, I've been binge watching Steve's content. I'll tell you, he's got more bloody videos than Blockbuster, honestly.
I know. I keep turning round to him and I'm saying it's all very nice seeing all these new Spectrum games, but can I see a Commodore 64 one? What the hell's all this Spectrum nonsense for? Just as a laugh, I say that as a joke, but
by the time I've finished watching one of his videos, he's waiting another 3, honestly. But no, I'm loving them, and I have to say, Steve, you sound about 17 years old, mate. Honestly. That's a compliment. You sound like a young boy, honestly.
Yeah, Bart Simpson, he sounds like. No, he doesn't. but I must admit, I said, oh, now that you've got your internet back up, then you better get your arse in gear and get some videos up. He said, oh, don't worry about that. I've done 4. Bloody hell. Done 4. Jesus.
I did actually next week's waffle. I've done it. It's a shout out special. So I think everybody that watches my channel has got YouTube's getting a shout out.
It's one of those things that I like to do just in my blog because it's just the ray of sunshine of my week is knowing that somebody's commented. I've always made it perfectly known that I don't care about giving somebody a fiver because I can get a fiver back, but you can't get time back. And if somebody's took the time out to write 3 or 4 lines of what their thoughts were about something that you did, well, that they're never going to get that time back. So as far as I'm concerned, they ought to be thanked for it. So pretty much that's how I look at life. But that's just me, I suppose.
Absolutely. And I was going on about, again, I'm kind of taking material for yesterday's waffle, but when I started in YouTube back in the day during the war, when I started back in YouTube, people. I'm sounding like my granddad. People did look out for you. It was the community of other channels. Now, everybody that watches my channel, I love you. I love everybody to bits, and we're a good bunch. And anybody, it's for anybody. It's not isolated to just those that are in the channel. We're a good bunch of people. We've proven that time and time again. We've raised £1,000 for various charities and that kind of stuff. But other channels out with that don't watch my channel, maybe, I don't know, 8-9 years ago, there was always a thing called a shout out. There was always people would do like a community question. They would say, what do you think of the PlayStation 5? Do a video response. You get none of that now. I mean, we all help each other out, which is fantastic. But I don't know what it is. Do you think is it just because? I mean, I think that we are starting to get saturated, but it's always been like that. There's always been a lot of kind of channels. Why do you think that is? Why do you think other channels don't like helping other channels out now? Is it a jealousy thing? They don't want to help that channel get more subscribers or whatever. I don't know.
That was the thing to me, because as I told you, I started my recording based on the fact that I'd had a conversation with you, and I decided that, warts and all, my life sucks at the moment, and I want to leave something behind for my family more than anything. And so the very first video that I did, I thanked you and mentioned you, because in my week I watch more YouTube now than I watch television. And if I'm watching more YouTube than I'm watching TV, then I'm watching people like you. And I'm just going, right, well, what did I do last night? Well, I watched Mainmeister, as if it was, I watched BBC One and EastEnders was on or something, right? It's just a general conversation. I think that some people might be a bit embarrassed to mention other people. They just really want to concentrate on themselves at the moment and just want to explain what the video that they're doing is about, because mine's a blog and most people's content is about a game, or it's not really about what they've done this week. It's more about, oh, I've bought this week, I've bought that this week, I've watched this, I've done this. It hasn't been, I've been out for a pint with Mainmeister and all of that sort of stuff. Do you know what I mean? I bring it into general conversation as if I was breathing air, because it is. That's what I've done. But for others, it might be, should I mention that? Should I not mention that? Would they like me to mention that? Should I be doing it? If you're new, you probably have those questions in your head. If you're old style, they probably just stop because there's no point doing that anymore. Or they don't even watch your channel anymore and know you're doing it. Or they can't be asked to look and then say, oh, I watched Mainmeister's thing. Do you see what I mean? It's almost like I'm concentrating on me. I'll tell people that are watching me about what I've been doing, not anybody else. You see what I mean? It's like many thoughts and comments about that one, but I won't go any further than that with my thoughts. I think that's about it, really.
The way I've done it, I mean, like when I did shout outs back in the day, it was because I would come across a channel that I enjoyed. Now, if you've done it loads of times, you'll say to me, listen, Al, there's a cracking programme that you and Lee are going to enjoy watching. Why don't you watch it? You tell people, it's like if you go to a nice restaurant, you're going to say to your mate, by the way, we went there for a pizza, cracking meal. So it's just, I look upon it as the same with YouTube. If I watch a channel that I think they make content that I enjoy, why wouldn't I tell people, like-minded people who are into video games? With this channel, there's a lot of people that watch it and they've got their own channels. And at the end of the day, it's just what you're saying, Dale. It's nice to be nice. Why would you not want to encourage people to go and look at a channel.
Yeah, it literally is. Well, actually, it goes more with something that you said a couple of weeks ago. It's like we've got so many channels now, and so many channels that you have to buy that not everybody is subscribed to, that you can't just turn around and say, "Oh, I watched the Lazarus Project last night." Somebody would turn around and go, "You what? What the hell's that?" And then you'll turn around and say, "Oh, it's on Netflix or something." Oh, I don't even watch Netflix. So there's nothing for you to talk about, but you're excited to talk about it because you've just watched it. So I think what's happening now, the tilt is moving away from broadcasting TV and people doing watch parties. I've noticed that there seems to be a lot more buzzword around a watch party where you can book a time and you can all watch TV together. I don't know if you've known it's been around on the Oculus for a long time. Watch parties.
Is this literally where you're all sitting in your respective home watching the same thing at the same time?
Yeah, so in the bottom corner of a Netflix thing, it does say watch party. You can book a watch party and you can then all watch it at the same time, and then you can chat about it while you're watching it. And I suppose that's a very good feature if it's something that's like a crime thriller that's in 14 parts, and everybody's going, "Oh, who's the murderer?" And everybody's got there, because you can go, "Oh, look at that! What's that? Oh," and all that. You know what I mean? It's
You didn't want any spoilers. Funny, I was talking to the guy at my work this week, I think it was, and he's got two young daughters. I think they're about 6 and 10 or something, and he was trying to explain to them that before the internet, and before Netflix, if you wanted to watch something on TV that you enjoyed, you had to buy a newspaper and you had to write down when it was on, and then you had to ensure that you were in front of the TV to watch it. And they just could not understand that concept. What do you mean it was? What do you mean you couldn't just go in and watch it? They couldn't understand that. And it's mental when you think about it. And then I was telling Eva a couple of years ago. I said, back in the day when you went on holiday, I said, well, back in the day, I says, you didn't take photographs. The only time you really took photographs was when you went on holiday. You'd get your suntan lotion, you'd get your Speedos, and you would get your 224 films for your camera. And then when you came back, no such thing as a selfie. You came back, take it into Boots, and then about 5 days later, you'd pay your... I remember it was about £5. It was quite a lot of money to get photos developed back then. And then you got back your 24 photos or your 48 photos, and out of that bunch, there's maybe 10 of them were double exposed or didn't turn out, whatever. And it's just taking them to the chemist. Why are you taking photos to the chemist? It just seems utterly bizarre.
I'll tell you the other thing that I've been doing this week. Actually, more of your videos from 5 years ago have been showing up in my news feed. Right, there was one that said 10-minute kerfuffle, right? And I was going, oh, right, he's done another one, has he? It was for Fighting Warrior from 5 years ago. I'm going, what the hell's that come up in my news feed for? It's 5 years ago, Fighting Warrior. But it did prompt me to go back to your Sid shows, because I remember last week you said that you're going to do a Sid thing with Panther. And I thought, right, when I'm going on my walks, I ought to find out how many of your Sid shows that you did, because I'm going to download those and start listening to those on my walks again, so I can remember what you've already talked about and see whether there's going to be something new in this next one that you're going to do. So I've done that this week. That's about it, really. I think when it comes to YouTube, I've been obviously just preparing for my one on Sunday, and I've got a few shout outs that I'll come out with on Sunday, because there's a couple of people that have shouted out this week to me.
LFC gave you a shout. LFC did a kind of blog earlier on this week, which I watched. I didn't watch it all, unfortunately. I had to go to my bed. But he gave you a shout out. Which
And I watched it, and I think I replied to him within 24 minutes of it coming up on the YouTube thing. Oh, I did find something else. Now, this you'll have to tell me, because you know more about YouTube than I do, right? But I was looking at some of the older people's streams, like Kim Justice and all,
Just this, yeah.
you know what I mean. And in their descriptions, they're starting to put lots of hashtags in their bottom of their descriptions. It says hashtag retro, hashtag C64, hashtag Spectrum, hashtag games, hashtag strategy, hashtag. I'm wondering if they're doing that because then they show up in search engines if you type in the word strategy. And if you've got it in the description at the bottom with just a hashtag and that, then it will show up as a search.
I don't know.
That is a way that they're doing things.
I'm the wrong person to ask. I mean, when you put a video up on YouTube, you can put in like search words. I don't even do that.
But I was just looking at the descriptions because I was looking for somebody was reviewing something and they said I've put the link in my description. When I went to the description, there was 17 lines of hashtags at the bottom that said hashtag C64, hashtag strategy, hashtag. I'm going bloody hell.
Bollocks to that! I can't even. That's too much like hard work, though.
But it looks very much like they probably put all that in Notepad and then they just copy and paste it at the bottom of all their descriptions. So they don't they just put it at the bottom of their descriptions all the time. But I was wondering to myself, what's the point? And then I thought to myself, I bet you it's for searches. It's got to be for searches.
It is. Right. I've seen people on Facebook, go to Edinburgh Castle and they'll do hashtag Edinburgh, hashtag Castle. All that shit. I don't know. I'm too old for that nonsense. I make a video, stick it up. Folk want to watch it. That's up to them. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Just good evening, Jamie. Just a quick roll call. See who we've got in tonight. I'm kind of conscious we tend to ignore the comments. We've got Delboy. You can't even. Did you make your mum a cup of tea, by the way?
Did I, Eck? You said get your ass in here. I haven't got a bloody chance, have I?
Oh, so it's going to be. I'm going to get it in the neck for your mum. Then is that what you're telling me?
Well, I just told my mum you're gonna have to wait till 9. I didn't know. I haven't got a bloody clue how long this is for. So I just shouted at the door when I shut it and said it'll be 9 when you get a cup of tea. It just went in here.
You like my beard? It's all trimmed and dyed and all that.
It's looking very, very good. Have you ever thought about having it blonde?
Nah.
It was a joke.
Actually. Nah, I don't think I would suit blonde somehow.
No.
Well, I used to be blonde. I was blonde. I was really blonde when I was younger.
Not with those eyebrows. I mean, I think it looks. Your beard always looks right. It's only when you've got it weird, like you have that, like you chopped off too much, and it looks like some bikers gangs. Weird.
Like my Facebook.
That's a bit weird.
Well, my Facebook profile picture.
Yeah. You know when you I went wrong and cut too much away, but I think I've salvaged it. And then you told me your girlfriend didn't like it.
Yeah, I've been a couple of times that I've been trimming it, and you just take it in a bit too far. You go, for fuck, and you've got to take it all off, and she's like, "Oh, you look weird." I goes, "Oh, cheers." So because I've not got a beard, I look weird. Bloody hell! I was on site today at this big warehouse. And I was there a couple of weeks ago and I met the warehouse manager, and he had this really big epic beard, sort of like that, big sculpted kind of beard, kind of, really, really cool beard. When I was there today, I didn't recognise him. I went, "Where's the beard gone?" He went, "I was trimming it and I went and chopped a bit and I had to then shave it off." I went, for fuck's sake.
The grooming products for beards must cost a fortune now. No, I mean, I don't know whether you know or not. I mean, do you use all that conditioner to make it all soft?
Nah. I never really got enough kind of length in it. I kind of keep wanting to kind of grow it, and then it starts getting a bit unruly, and I just kind of chop it a wee bit.
Doesn't your girlfriend say, "Oh, I'm going to get rash if we kiss and you got a beard like that"?
People, since I grew a beard, I mean, for the last 4 years, all I get for my birthday or Christmases is like shampoo and oil and all that kind of stuff, but I've tried. I don't think it makes any difference.
No,
it doesn't make it. Anyway, back on Virgin. So anyway, it came back today, and coincidentally, my Virgin, I was on an 18-month contract. It actually ran out yesterday,
Oh.
Now it went from $38.99 up to 51. Sorry. 30. It went up £21.
I'd tell him to get stuffed.
Well, so anyway, I phoned him last night and I says, right, well, firstly, my internet's not working. He says, it'll get fixed by tomorrow. I says, right, okay, I want to talk to you about my account. He says, we can't talk to you about that because we need to wait for the system.
Different department, I suppose.
Yeah. So I phoned up earlier on at lunchtime, explained. I said, right, it's going up 21 quid. I says, I'm happy with the service. I says, it does kind of go down from time to time. I says, but I am happy with the service. I says, I would quite happily stay with Virgin, but you need to do something with the price. I says, get it there or thereabouts as to what I'm paying at the moment, and I'll stay. So he said, how much you pay? I says, it's going up to 50. Right, okay. And he went, I've got a deal here. I can do it for £43. I says, well, that's still £5 off. He says, oh, no, it's faster broadband. I went, all right, how much faster? Oh, it's about twice as quick. I thought, so for an extra £5, you're going to double my speed. And he said, oh, you also get like a basic TV package. I thought, right, got a deal. Shaking that. She says, right, give me a couple of minutes. So he went away. And then I logged into my Virgin account and it's like broadband 350. I've got the second fastest one you can get. I think the fastest one you can get is like 65 quid a month, which I'm not paying for. So then the guy came back and I says, right, can you just confirm what I'm getting? I'm getting twice as fast, blah, 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 TV. He went, yep. I says, so you're putting me on to the maximum speed? He went, no, you're going on to whatever it is, 200. I says, but I'm on 350 at the moment. He's like, are you? I mean, I'm looking at it. I says, can you not see that on the account? I says, I'm on 350 at the moment. Oh, right, okay. He says, right, okay, well, that's not, you're going to be on a slower broadband. I says, like, listen, I says, just keep me on it. What can you do for me? He says, you need to go to the, what's it called? What's the department where they try and convince you not to leave?
Yeah.
Anyway, he said, you need to speak to the department that tries to convince you not to leave. So I said, I'll need to phone back because I'm on my lunch. So phone back tonight and went through the whole paraphernalia. And the guy says, right, I can do the same deal that you're on, the same speed for 46. And then he went, well, wait a wee minute, I'll give me a set. I might be able to do it better. And he came back, 41. I says, for the same, everything the same. Yeah, I goes, fine, great. So there you go. Never ever just accept it. They've just knocked 19 quid off it.
Yeah, my nephew, it was in the same situation, only it was last week. He did a different tact. He basically turned around and said, look, I've been with you on this for 12 months. I think he said he was 18 months because I think everybody's on 18 months these days. And he said, I keep getting text messages from my mobile provider saying that they're now offering broadband and they're offering me fiber broadband, which you don't offer me, and they'll do it at a cheaper price than I'm paying with you. So will you be able to do something for me? And he got a good deal. And I think by mentioning the word mobile to some of these static services like Sky and Virgin, where they don't have, like Virgin Mobile, Sky's got mobile now. I think they're trying to keep you. So I really think that all you have to do is just say, look, I'm going to go. Yeah, put me through to your disconnect service. I don't care. And if you can prove you've got a text message, you don't even have to prove it. You just threaten them and say, look, I've got one anyway. If you want, I'll send it to you if you want, because you'll get one from a mate who's got one. I've got one now. I can send it to you. They wouldn't know if it was from. They'll keep you, and they'll try and keep it within a couple of quid. They really will. They are scared to death at the moment.
Aye. Thing is, maybe 20 years ago, there was BT, there was like Talk, Sky, and Virgin. Now there's bloody, I wouldn't say there's hundreds, but there's a lot. So, I've in the past, I think when I was with Virgin, and what I tend to do is I just flick between Virgin, Sky, just keep going because you get the deal. You go through Top Cashback, get 60 quid cash in hand, and then get a good deal. I think the last time I tried to do that, they weren't interested. But no, I mean, I'm quite happy to pay an extra £2, you know, because to be fair, the service is pretty good.
How are you finding your new car?
And
don't say I find it on the. I don't say I find it on the drive every morning.
I just go down. You know what's bloody insane? There's actually an app. It's a BMW. I've never had a BMW before. I was a wee bit. I sound ungrateful because when I started the job, they said to me, right, you're going to have X amount per month. You can kind of pick a car, and I thought, oh, that's great. When I started the job, I thought they were going to say, right, you go and pick one. And then the director says, oh, I've got a cracking car. I went, all right, what have you got? And he went, BMW, blah, 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 whatever. I went, all right, very good. And it's a lovely car. There's no question of it. The only thing is, it's bloody. It likes to drink diesel. It's not economical
Does it swallow up more fuel with the air conditioning on? I take it you've needed the air conditioning this week because it's getting warmer, isn't it?
I mean, we're up to a balmy 11 degrees in Scotland, so it's air conditioning weather.
Dizzy heights, whoa.
You know what? Years ago, I always remember my boss, who's still my mate actually. What he doesn't know about cars isn't worth knowing. But he always used to say, "Oh, never. If you don't need it, don't use it because it uses fuel." But I think now that all cars have it, and
I got told a slightly different story because I was told I used to have to manage the air conditioning in the server room, you know, where I worked, and I told him it was always on. But I asked him the question, what about cars? What's the best way to maintain the air conditioning in your car? And he always turned around and said, you need to put it on for 10 minutes at least once a week, even in the cold conditions, because you need to circulate the liquids that are in the air conditioning unit. And if you don't do that, then of course it can erode the metal. So get into the habit of a Friday, putting it on for 10 minutes. And then do that every Friday. And I went, oh, that's and I'll have to remember to do that. And I always did that through the winter, just 10 minutes, you know.
I mean, my mate told me again. He says air conditioning isn't just to cool air. He says does it kind of freshen air. So even if you've got it at like 20, 21 degrees, keep the air conditioning on, and it provides a kind of better atmosphere apparently. But yeah, what's insane is there's an app. Why you'd want to do that? You can, if I go into the app just now, it will tell me windows are locked, doors are locked. You can press a button to flash the headlights. I don't know why you'd want to do that, but I've tried it. You press it, and I've looked at the window, and then about a second later it goes ding ding.
It's probably when you're in a car park and you can't find your car. So basically,
that's not. Well, this thing is also what I like about it. It's the car itself has got, is it 4G or 3G?
Yeah.
So I can go to the app and it will show me on Google Maps where the car's parked.
Yeah,
which is quite good. And you can also you can set it up if you start work, if you leave for work at 8 o'clock every morning. I presume it's going to be better in the winter. You can actually set it up so that the ventilation comes on at 7:45, so that it won't start the engine obviously, but it starts the air. So presumably you can kind of defrost the car before you get into it. So yeah, it's good. I'm probably the most uninterested when it comes to cars. I don't get excited with cars. You know, I sound ungrateful. I do. It's a lovely car. I mean, I'm very, very lucky having it. But a car's a car.
Yeah.
I would rather have a lesser car and be cheaper to run. But, you know.
Yeah. Well, enough about cars. So, have you played any games this week?
Have I played any games? What was I? Was I playing any games?
So you're in the very, very lucky position of having that lovely arcade game with your initials now in the high score table.
Yeah.
Have you played any more on that so that you can get further than you did on the stream? I'm not saying levels. I'm not talking levels. I'm just saying, have you got further in it? Have you? You
I
know?
haven't actually, but I did put my main cab on for the first time tonight when I was waiting for my pizza. By the way, Farm Foods do excellent pizzas, 3 for 11 quid. They're just as good as stuffed crust, pepperoni, brilliant, really really nice. Ava's really fussy, and she eats it great.
Yeah,
3 for
I have
11
that.
quid.
I have that Chicago Town stuffed crust pepperoni.
Aye, that's what they are. I think that's
The one
Chicago
with
Town.
the one with the pepperoni sauce in the
Yeah.
crust. I don't
Well,
like the cheese one.
Aye, well, I'm the opposite. I prefer the cheese one, but aye, they're great. They're 3 for 11 quid. But nah, I've not been playing. I've not been playing. I actually hardly play any games these days. The only time I really play them is when I'm doing these bloody live streams and getting the piss taken out of me.
No, but that's really good. But it's just that the reason I asked that is because I think sometimes you get some ideas about doing a kerfuffle when you come across a game that you haven't played before, and sometimes even if it's a bad one, you'll go, "Have I done a retrospective of this one? Don't think I have. Oh, I'll have to come back to that one." And then sometimes I'll see you've done it, and other times I've not seen it ever come up. So I'm just wondering if you've got one on the pipeline that you've watched over the last couple of weeks and gone, "Oh, I'll have to do a 10-minute on that one."
Aye, I've got a couple of videos that I've done, I've recorded, and I've just never actually. I've been doing that many bloody live streams.
Now, I tell you what I did see this week, and I haven't downloaded it yet, and I don't think I've got my phone on hand. I don't know if I've got Discord open. They've done an attic attack that's in isometric 3D.
Oh, I saw that.
Something called Magistoric Mansion or something like that. I can't remember what it is. But it was designed to work on the Spectrum Plus that you had, you know, your Spectrum Next. But he's designed it for that plus the PC, and you could download the PC version and see how close he's got to finishing it off. I tell you what, it's damn quick from the videos. From the videos I saw of it, and I keep meaning to download it, but I just thought, oh, that'd be one for you to have a look at, because Attic Attack looking like Night Law but playing at the same speed as Attic Attack, that's something special, you know.
I'll need to have a wee look at that. I saw, and I don't normally kind of call out people, I'm not going to mention names, but there was a person on, he doesn't watch my channel, but he's on Discord, and he was making some ridiculous comments about how shit the Amiga and the Atari ST were.
Oh, I saw the thread of the conversation, but I didn't take much notice of it, I have to say.
Yeah, I just, I can't even bloody find it. I thought it was in, what do you call it? Anyway, yeah, this person was saying how, what was it? Something along the lines of, I only play, I think Colin Jones was talking about playing a computer, and this guy said, I only play arcade games because all computer games are absolute shit. Yeah. And then he said the Commodore Amiga, and he was making separate comments, the Commodore Amiga and Atari ST are fucking shit or something like that, he said. And then he said, I smashed my A1200 to bits the other week there, and I'm like,
God, yeah.
And I just said, I really hope that you're joking.
Tongue in cheek, I think.
I hope it was. I really hope it was, because if that guy's being serious, then he's probably better off fucking off my Discord channel, because that's not the place for somebody like that. Hopefully, Colin Craig said he was talking pish. I don't know whether he means he was talking pish as in the things he was saying was ridiculous, or whether he was doing it tongue in cheek. But it didn't seem tongue in cheek to me. I don't know.
I just remember I saw the thread of the conversation. I saw your comment, but I didn't bother reading the conversation after that, because it was all about.
Well, nobody's even reacted to it, so that's the best way to do it.
Yeah, it was all about arcade, and I was just going, well, I mean, I do like the arcade, but I don't really follow it too much, this channel. So I just went on to the next channel and just started reading that. You know what I mean? So.
Good evening, Bill. How are you, Squire? Yep, got a nice little turnout tonight. Listen, I've not got any questions at all, because the questions that were from last week, I answered them in yesterday's waffle, which I'm just going to put out next week. I'll just keep it keep it on the in the back burner, and if I need because that's the thing about my waffles, I never ever talk about anything current. So whether I put it out next week or a month's time, it doesn't matter a toss.
Did you go back to Milfy's question and come up with a better
I
answer?
did, and
because you didn't understand the question.
I'll be honest, I still struggled. I just didn't get the whole. You can pick one day next week. I'm thinking.
Well, did you see my blog first of all and see?
Yeah, I did.
I looked at it as this must be a Groundhog Day question. So if I could have 100 piano lessons, because nobody would remember that you've actually had one piano lesson because their minds are wiped every time you went through, but you remember. Well, you could have 100 programming lessons. You could have 100 art and craft lessons. You could have whatever you want. And I'm going.
Yeah. What I did was what I ended up doing in the spoiler. I picked a single day back in the 80s that I would like to relive, and I tell you about it. So that was how I answered.
Did you like my answer to you? Because I never know whether you watch my blog or not. So I mean, you asked me a verbal question, remember? And I
about the hours. Yeah, they were all very, very good.
That's good. As long as I put a bit of thought in it, and the question has matched what you were expecting, that's fine. That's all right with me. Because I sometimes wonder whether I give an answer, a justifiably good answer to a question. Because no idea. Because Panther keeps going on about Foodgate.
Well,
so you know what I mean.
Actually, LFC's just said there. Since Dale answered Panther's question, what's his favourite dessert? I wonder what yours is. What's my favourite dessert?
Sometimes it needs a bit of thought, but I'll let you think for a moment.
Yeah. I'll tell you one thing that I'm not happy about, Mr. Dell. When anytime I watch your blog, I'm always bloody starving. You're talking about fucking cake and steak pie and all this kind of stuff. I'm like, fucking hell.
Well, you have a word with Panther during the Sid show then and say, can you stop doing Foodgate? Because the next one, the one I've got to do now is what my favourite flavour of packet of crisp is. And that's the question for next Sunday. And I'll tell you what, I'm pretty likely to turn around and say, right, Panther, just to end it all. My favourite boiled sweets, this. My favourite packet of crisp is this. My favourite chocolate bars, this. My favourite jellied sweet is this. And I'm hoping that's Foodgate finished with. Because I've answered about every one now, right? So because that's every week, it's breakfast, dessert, favourite Sunday roast. I'm going, bloody hell. He's a sod. He's a big head. We know his production, but stuff him.
Much better than ours. Anyway, my favourite dessert. Christ almighty, it depends. It depends what kind of mood I'm in. I mean, there's tons of desserts that I like. I mean, I love like apple pie and cream. I don't know. I would probably say I love things like with toffee or like toffee sauce. I'm not really a big chocolatey. I mean, I like chocolate, but I'm not a big kind of chocolatey fan when it comes to desserts. Like, I love things like sundaes with like toffee ice cream and toffee sauce and caramel. But I don't know. There was a thing I bought, there was a thing I got. I was staying down in, I think it was Sheffield a few years ago. I was down there in my work, and I went to one of these Brewers Fair places for my dinner, and I saw a thing, and I'd never heard of it before, called Eton Mess, and it's basically just tons of whipped cream with strawberries. Brilliant. It's like, did I have meringue in it as well? I think
that's the thing I don't like about it, because it's got meringue in it. It's almost like having one of them ice. What do they call it? Not iceberg thing. It's they have them at Christmas anyway, meringue with cream and everything in it. And I just turn around and go, no, I don't like them. Don't like meringue. Whipped egg white. No, with sugar. I don't go for that.
You've heard the old joke. A Scotsman goes into a baker's and says, "Is that an apple pie or a meringue?"
No, I don't.
Meringue. Am I wrong? Is that an apple pie or am I wrong? Or am I wrong?
Right, yeah, I did get it, and I'm just going. No,
Right,
I haven't heard it though before. You know, it's all that wee bear and all this sort of stuff. I don't.
Have you guys just nothing to do with the waffle? Have you guys heard of Jerry Cinnamon?
I haven't.
No. So somebody's mentioning Cinnamon. Jerry Cinnamon, he comes from Glasgow. I only became aware of him. He's a musician. I only became aware of him about maybe 4 years ago. He comes from a place called Castle Milk in Glasgow, and it's quite a rough area. But it's just him. He writes all his own music. He plays the guitar, and he's actually, I mean, I think he's playing 2 concerts at Hampden Park, which is obviously that's where Scotland play their football from time to time when they actually qualify for anything. But he's selling out stadiums, you know, that seat 50,000, and apparently he doesn't even have a publisher. He doesn't even have a record label. It's just he's got all his fame purely through word of mouth.
All right.
And yeah, you should listen to Jerry Cinnamon. He does his stuff's brilliant. He's like the Proclaimers. He sings with a Scottish accent. He doesn't try and put on this fake American like so many kind of other groups do. But yeah, and it's just because I saw Calden's mentioning caramel cinnamon bread pudding as my favourite. What's Calden saying here? I once did a diary writing assignment in college where I was just using my old Zanga blog post my entries because they weren't really indicative of current events or anything. Remember blogs? I think I started a blog about 20 years ago. I don't even know if I've still got it.
Well, I always intended to do a blog. I used to just write diaries. But it was a friend of mine who now lives over in Spain. He actually is a teacher in Spain that started doing blogs, but they were written blogs, you know. And I just commented on his blogs, and then eventually it turned into a communication channel between us both. We hadn't spoken to each other in absolutely ages, and but he's very much a political person, and I'm not a political person, so we don't still communicate that much, but we communicate about TV stuff. So that's the nice thing. I like talking about TV, you know, the old TV shows, not new stuff, old stuff, you know.
Mm-hmm. I saw a thing on Twitter. I can't remember exactly what it was, but they were talking about. Do you remember the rubbers you got when you went to school? You had the pink rubber, which was for pencil. Then there was the dark blue, and it had like bits of grit in it.
Yeah. You used to have ours were white and blue. The white was for pencil, and the blue was for rubbing out ink, if you could. And it had a grit in it, and it was almost like if you could imagine my 2 lines like that, and it had an angle at both sides.
Yeah.
Like I can't explain it very well, but
it was like a wedge either side,
you know,
wedge shape. I think they said that they were lied to. We grew up believing that the blue was to rub out ink, but I don't think it ever did. I don't think it worked. I think all it did was it just scratched the paper.
Yeah, took a layer of the paper away. That's right.
Right, listen, I've got, obviously, because I've answered the questions, well, I've answered the questions already. I've dug into my Friday Waffle future, whatever it's called, and there's this guy, Delboy 3K1. He posted on the 2nd of September 2020, so we're obviously mid-lockdown. And I'm going to ask you, do you feel safe with cloud storage?
More than I used to, because at the time that I was writing that's when we were discussing adding a security layer to the cloud storage for the probation service, and I thought I'd bring it to your attention because it's like every couple of minutes I seem to keep getting this join OneDrive and join, you know, Dropbox and all of this sort of stuff, and it is cloud storage. But then after a while, they turn around and start saying, we're going to diminish your size of your box, which means you could lose some of your photos because we've got to reprice everything. And I started to ask questions. Well, a future topic that you might like to discuss would be, what do people think about cloud storage? So that was the reason for that. I feel secure enough with cloud storage. I don't hear too many horrible stories about account stuff being stolen. I hear more about companies being hacked and taking customer details rather than they stole it from the cloud. You know what I mean?
I don't. I mean, I understand what cloud storage is. There's a great bit in. It wasn't. I can't remember what Rocky film it was. It was the first Rocky where he was training Apollo Creed's son. Creed it was called.
Oh, just Creed, yeah.
And he takes a picture, and I think Sylvester Stallone says, "Oh, you need to like back it up or whatever it is. You need to print the picture." And he goes, "Oh, it's all right. It's in the cloud." And he's like that. And then as the guy walks away, he sees Sylvester Stallone going like that. And he's kind of looking up at the sky. That's brilliant. But I understand what cloud storage is. I mean, I've got that phone. I bought that phone about a year ago off Amazon. And I've never like enrolled with cloud storage, whatever. And now I get a message saying your cloud storage is full. Do you want to upgrade and all that? And to be perfectly blunt with you, no, I don't, because I can just put my photos and that on it. The thing that concerns me is if, for example, one day I decided, right, you know what, I've had enough of kind of being on YouTube. I just want to come off I want to completely come off the internet. I don't want any pictures of me being on Facebook and that. I would find it very difficult to. How would you know? How do you go about deleting all these things? Would you have to log into your account and all this kind of bollocks?
We used to have. It used to be something that came up an awful lot, but when I was working for the probation service, we had what we call a greenfield project, and the greenfield project was, if the building blew up, how quickly could you get yourself back up and running? Right, and if you can get it up and running in 4 or 5 days, like all the servers are back from somewhere, all the IP addresses are put all back, then basically you're in a good position. But if it takes you a month, you're not gonna be very good, because obviously it takes that long. So when it comes to a greenfield project, I think there's a personal one that says, how do I get myself totally off the grid? It's the same sort of thing. So you'd have to delete everything to do with GPS. You'd have to remove yourself from mobile phones, remove yourself from the internet, move yourself off of Google, yourself off of Oculus. You'd have to, do you know what I mean? You'd have to go back and back and back and back and back. And even when you do that, most companies will only hide your account. They won't actually delete the stuff, because if you come back, it'll make your account live again and all your stuff will be back. And that's what people do at work. You have to have 5 years worth of people's wages, for so long. So in Active Directory, which is what we use for allowing people to log on to our network, or we don't actually delete the account, they just hide it, just in case the person comes back in a year's time.
You know what I found not interesting is the wrong word, unusual. I was always under the impression that if you don't use your YouTube channel after a certain length of time, it's closed down.
Yeah.
My dad he's got his own YouTube channel, and my dad's been dead since 2013, and yet his YouTube channel still exists.
Yeah.
Which is kind of bizarre.
But the word I was looking for, by the way, was digital thumbprint. If you want to remove your digital thumbprint, it's very, very difficult. But yeah, it's interesting to note that you'd think that, but I haven't read. I must admit, I am guilty of not reading all the terms and conditions, because I've got a life and I haven't got time to read 25 pages worth of terms and conditions that say this, that, and the other. And I pretty much do just tick the box that says, yeah, I've read it. Yeah. And I dare say they could turn around and say, we we singularly do a cleanup every now and again, and if you haven't logged in, we'll delete it. Otherwise, we'll keep it live. And I dare say, if you're a family member and they've linked you up, they've probably kept the account open. And that's the reason why they haven't done it. If you then delete your account and your sister hasn't got one, I bet you any money after about 5 years, they probably will delete the stuff. Depends on how much space web storage it's taking up.
I know when my dad passed away, I tried to get in. In fact, I contacted Hotmail and said I want to close my dad's email account. I want to close it down. And they were like, "Well, we need to get authorization from him." And it's like, "But he's dead."
Yeah, he's dead.
Well, but we need authorization for him. Well, good luck with that one. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And like I said, I went, as you can imagine, what you went through. I also went through a couple of years later when my father died. So I'm not, I mean, my mother didn't want to face the fact that her partner had died, and I tried to be the exec, by helping my mother out and trying to tidy up all the accounts. And she had joint cards with my dad's name on it. She had to go through having a new card sent to her, and then they were asking her, "Do you want to continue with this gold card?" And my mother doesn't understand what the gold card offers and whether she's being charged a month for all of these features. I had to go through it and tell her, "Mum, you don't want that card because you haven't got car insurance. You don't want mobile phone insurance, and you definitely aren't going to use travel insurance. So being charged £14 a month for these features, you don't want it. So have that reduced to a classic account." And that's what I had to do for everything to do with my mother. So
actually, I don't know why I'm thinking about that, but it just got me thinking. Maybe all us YouTubers should record a video that only give the details to your mate, and then when you kick the bucket, you can release Dell's message from the grave.
I was going to introduce myself once, and for those who welcome from the grave.
And as for you, Dell, you're an utter cunt.
Oh yeah, well, thanks. Touche to you.
Yeah, right. Moving on. This is another question from this idiot. Is a home NAS setup the future for your collection, or is old storage methods still king? What's NAS? What the hell is that?
Well, you've actually logged on to my NAS drive. It's
right.
It's a drive on my network, which I can make public to people out in the real world. You could stream the videos off of it if you wanted. But I remember, because the reason I wrote that question is probably in a blog or one of your waffles that same week, you probably started talking about, I've got 2 10-terabyte drives or whatever it is, and I've got all of my emulation stuff on there. Or you went down the route of explaining that your old drive broke and you had to move everything across.
That's right.
So I probably then came up with a question: have you not thought about having a NAS drive? And then every machine and every phone would be able to hook into your ROMs, and you'd be able to load them up that way.
Is there, you being a bit of an IT person, is there like I don't know how, I must have about 6 or 7 2 gig. I've even got a 10 gig USB drive. Now that's what kind of powers my PC, and it's probably why it's quite slow. Is there something that's not ridiculously expensive? I mean, I would quite happily pay a couple £100. Is there like a box that you can buy that's maybe like, I don't know, 30 terabyte that's really reliable, that I can just put everything on and then stick it in a cupboard, and then
that was the other reason why I mentioned NAS as probably being the future, because you can buy a NAS enclosure which has got no drives in it, right? They've just got bays where you'll put hard drives in, and you can have a 2 drive bay and a 4 drive bay and a 6 drive bay, and you wouldn't want to go down the route. You wouldn't want to go down the route. Stop trying to distract me. You wouldn't want to go down the route of having one drive and no backup for it. So the best thing for you to do really is to buy a NAS enclosure and at least 2 drives. One which is your drive that's got all the stuff on, and the other one which backs up any change that you make overnight. It will back it up to the other drive. So you've got a like a restore point. Do you see what I mean? So, and you can buy drives these days that are in 2 gig, 4 gig, 8 gig, 10 gig. And if you put 10 gig, two 10 terabyte drives, one that's a backup of your first one, then just put all your ROMs on one of those drives and you've got it automatically backing up every time you change it. Now, the reason that I said a NAS enclosure, because a NAS enclosure is almost like having a server. If you know anything like at work, where you use SharePoint, where you save your documents and it goes up onto the server, well, just think how you could access your ROMs, and you could access your ROMs from your phone. You could access your ROMs from your PC. You could access your ROMs from your console, because they all go through your Wi-Fi. See what I mean? So you wouldn't need to have the ROMs on each of those drives. One on, all of the ROMs on your phone, all of the ROMs on your PC, because you'd access them from the central point, which would be your NAS. So you've already saved space by just always pointing to the folders on your NAS rather than the folders on your drive on your PC. You see what I mean? Because your NAS will be permanently on. When you go to bed at night, you turn your PC off, your NAS is still on. You go over to bed to watch a film in bed or something. Well, your TV will pick up your NAS drive and you can stream all your TV stuff from the drive. Do you see what I mean? That's how you save money as well with energy, because your PC doesn't have to always be on. Just the NAS drive, which uses less power. So there's a lot of reasons why people use NAS.
Yeah, well, Kenny's he's saying there NAS with the RAID drives. I've always wondered what a RAID drive was. I had the 2-drive Synergy for set up. What's that? Set up a good 4-bay, and it could be 800 quid. So is that kind of what you're talking about for something like that? Then is it? So
yeah, I mean, I've got as you know, I've got a Synology 2-drive, and I've got a Netgear 4-drive bay. You put whatever size drive you want in them. You can put a 500. A 500 gig, you could put a 1 terabyte. A RAID system is basically just, how do you want this setup to be? Do you want it to be all storage space, or do you want it to be one drive is the main space and the other drives are backups of your original? Do you see what I mean? So if you put what I was trying to say to you, you'd probably put yours in a RAID, I don't know, a RAID 5 configuration, and all that means is you'll put one drive in and the other drive acts as a backup. Any change you make to that one C drive, it will make the change on the other one. If the drive breaks, you've got the other drive, because it's always been making a backup no matter what change you make to it. But like I say, you could have 4 drives in it. You could have 3 that are drives for you to put films on, pictures on, and you could have the last drive as a striped drive, where it does some backups but not all. It does you tell it what you want it to back up. Do you know what I mean? It all depends. There are many ways of doing it. You can spend an awful lot of money on it, but you don't have to spend an awful lot of money on it. You can spend up to as little as 100 200 quid.
I think you've talked me out of it. I mean, to be fair, I've got all my kind of ROMs and all this shit that I've downloaded over the years. I've got them backed up in a couple of drives, and they're in a cupboard.
Yeah.
So that's.
And like I say, there's nothing wrong with that, because, like I say, I've got my ROMs on my PC, and I've got an external USB 3 drive that I've also backed up all those ROMs onto there. What you just have to remember is that, depending on whether they're solid state drives or not, those mechanisms on those drives can because they're not being used every day, could seize up like your brakes on your car. And what you think is backed up isn't, because you've stuck it near a magnet like you saw on like Micro Live, or it's just seized up because the drive's knackered now because it never got used. It just seized up. And then what are you going to do then? Your NAS drive will always be permanently on, won't it? So there's another reason for having a NAS drive.
something to think
Have I,
about.
have I,
I know.
talk, have I talked you back in? And
My eyes are glazing over, mate, and I'm completely.
Yeah, can we move on to the technical crap?
Moving on swiftly. Yeah, I know the viewers. The viewers has gone to 22 down to 3, but anyway, right. Another one from Delboy is MAME illegal? I think it is. Is it illegal?
Oh right, yeah. Is MAME illegal? Yeah.
Is MAME illegal?
So do you remember MAME was offered as a device for cataloging and archiving machines, because there's going to be at some point these machines will never be around. So my question is, although MAME is legal but the ROMs are not, is MAME really legal from the point of view that it's now gone beyond a catalog program? It's now an emulation device for everybody now to play the arcade machines on their own machines, and you don't have to put 10p's in anymore. So that was the reason for that question. Really, it was a topic, for discussion. Well,
Aye, I mean, it's obviously when you run any game, it comes up. You must, if you don't own the, it comes up with the wee kind of disclaimer. This game should not be played outside Japan or whatever it is. So I suppose technically you are breaking the law, but the reality is, does anybody really give a shit?
Yeah, that's what I think. Just nobody gives a shit, really, to be quite honest. But it was some of these topics. I heard your waffle, and you said I'm really, really low on questions. I'm really, really low on topics. So all I did was I spent a whole week writing about 50 of them and stuck them in that Discord channel.
You know what always amazes me? I mean, I've mentioned that a million times. It's still, every time I load up a game on my computer or on the main cab or whatever, and it comes up Capcom, and then you've got put 10 pence in. It still blows my mind that I'm playing an arcade game on my PC. I think it's fantastic. It's brilliant. But what I find incredible is the fact that every game that MAME supports, that game has to exist somewhere, and like the real game has to exist. So some of these real ancient games from like 1972 and all that, somebody somewhere must own the physical board to kind of drag the program off. Surely, yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think the project started off as, we want to archive these machines because we don't want them to go and never be able to be replicated. I don't know whether they then started going around arcade houses and then started to say, can I take your machine to bits and take the chip out and dump all of the code that's in it, right? Or whether they went to private collectors and did that. Do you know what I mean? A lot of these private collectors now are backing up their own arcade machines. They've got those devices that Colin's got, where you stick a chip into a program, into a device, and it will dump the code, and you'll be able to reprogram it if it's an EEPROM chip. But what I'm saying is, most early arcade games were just one single chip. The rest of the chips were for RAM and all of that. It doesn't need the code for that. You just need the code for the game. That's what drives the bit that you're interested in. They design an interface around the rest to make it work, which is, this is the RAM map, this is the sprite map, that's all in the rest of the chips.
I know when I bought my JAMA arcade cabinet thing, it came with a double dragon, and I mean, it's a board about that size, and it's got about, must have about 60 chips in it.
Yeah. One of them will be a protection chip. One will be a chip for graphics. One will be for sound. There'll be a ton of them for RAM, because all of the RAM chips were expensive and they came in certain sizes, and you probably got about 16 8K chips or something that, so there'll be 16 of those chips will just be for RAM, and then there's video RAM, see what I mean? It'll be chock-a-block full of just RAM chips.
I think we've lost the viewers there. They're too busy talking about Ken Barlow. Apparently Ken Barlow he concocted the original hot pot recipe back in 1982. The Encyclopedia Britannica was originally a diary written by.
I'm sorry, nothing exciting is on, but I can tell you now. I was going to recommend this to you later on, but on Steam, I've been playing a shoot 'em up called Sky Force Reloaded, and I was going to recommend that you play that, Al. So
Sky Force. I think I've played the original Sky Force.
Sky Force Reloaded. It's called. They've done it again, and I played it this week, and I thought it was great.
Is it when you say they've done it again? When did it come out?
Well, like I said, you said that you think you've got Sky Force. This one's a newer version of it, I think. Let me have a little look. It came out in 2017, but I don't know whether Sky Force came out earlier than that. I think it did.
I think I might have that actually. I think it's probably 2 games I've got in that.
But I checked, and you haven't got Sky Force Reloaded. That's all.
Coin ops. I know. Thanks, Dale. Next one are games too easy. God, you're saying games too easy in 2020. That was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Compared to 1980, absolutely. I mean, games back in the day. I mean, when you think when you think of an Atari 2600 game, the games had to be difficult because that was all you really had was the playability. Graphics were really basic. If you would complete a game, I mean, I think a lot of these games that you had for the Commodore 64 and Spectrum, there was maybe only 10 levels. You imagine Manic Miner. In theory, if Manic Miner was easy, you would complete it in like 10 minutes. And that would be it. So that games were obviously arcade games were designed. They weren't designed to be enjoyable. They were designed to get the hook in. They wanted you to put money in. But they were designed so when I get the piss taken out of me week in, week out, being shit at arcade games, it's because arcade games were designed to kill you. They're saying like 40 seconds is kind of the average time that somebody lasts.
I'd ban people that keep telling you that you're bad at arcade games. All these people that turn around and say that you can't get to level 2, I'd just ban them. just do it. No, I'm ever so sorry. I do keep bringing that joke up, but absolutely. The reason I think I raised that question, and if it's from me, I'm pretty sure I did raise that question, is because I got pissed off with being handheld when I was playing a game. I'm pretty sure you know what I'm talking about. You've played that favorite game of yours, Into the Daylight or another. You said it's your favorite PS4 game.
Oh yeah. The Last of Us.
The Last of Us, right? And
yeah.
What tends to happen is as soon as you put the disc in, it handhelds. It says you need to do this to go over this. You need to do this to go over this, and it will say press the trigger to do this. And what you tend to find now is if you play any Call of Duty game, people are saying, I don't want to be able to see through walls. I used to play Quake, and I got a fright because I had to go round the corner and there'd be a monster there firing at me. I don't want to see a transparent image and be able to see that there's a monster behind the wall. And all of this has come about, I think, because some people were turning around and saying, I'm getting lost in your game and I didn't know what to do next. And there was no prompt that told me that I was out in the wilderness somewhere and I'd gone too far. But now they dumb them down so much that you finish the game in 48 hours. And I'm going, who wants to spend 60 quid and complete it in 48 hours? I just think that those sort of games, they're not thinking about us gamers from in the past where we were brought up on hard. You want to know what hard is? Yeah, you go back and play a VIC-20 game from 1982 where you're spitting lasers out of a llama and trying to kill some spiders that have landed on behind you. That's skill, not this transparent wall nonsense.
Yeah. As I've said before, you would never, I've not got the patience for games nowadays, and I'm not saying every game, but these kind of first-person shooters, what skill does they actually require? You die, you restart, you die, you restart, you die, You get get to the next bit, save, die, restart, move a wee bit forward, save, die, restart, die, get to end of level 2, it saves. It's holding you the whole time. It's like you walking along a tightrope. There's somebody underneath waiting to catch you all the time. So if you fall off, they put you back up. And you walk in, you fall off, and they put you back up. Then you get along a wee bit further, and you fall off. It's just holding your hand the whole time. Games back in the day, arcade games, Manic Miner, they were bloody brutal. There's no such thing as restarts. Or you get 3 lives, and it's game over, and you're right back at the start. You know,
Yep.
And yeah,
But
I mean,
we grew up though, didn't we, Al? Understanding that this game was going to be hard. I mean, at the end of the day, we knew when we picked up a game like Cauldron that there were going to be what they call cheap death. We call them cheap deaths now, don't we? Where I'm going to take a leap from here and I have no idea that the flip screen that happens when I go to the next screen, whether there's going to be a ledge directly under me or I've got to jump. You had to jump to find out whether there was going to be a platform below you. And then you go, oh, shit, look, I should have dropped. And the next time you did it, you dropped off of it because you remembered, right? And then there's those shoot 'em ups, aren't there? That some of them had set patterns and they're memory games because the pattern is the same every time. And then there's the bastard that coded the one where they're random all the time and they're bouncing about and you've got no chance of getting through it. And you're going, bastard. Why did he code it like that? If it weren't for the fact that this thing's bouncing about with no set pattern, I'd be able to get past this point. But no, it's random, you gits. You know, and then you had to then you always turn around and said, well, I was extremely lucky to get past that point. But were you? Because there are people that can go through these things now without, you know, and yet they're random patterns. So how do they do that? There has to be a skill. It's just you know, you just don't auto fire past it or something. It might be something as simple as that. But interesting, really.
Yeah, Jambon makes an interesting comment. He says he always thought that Halo was a bit of a cheat with how your health automatically recharged if you waited around behind a rock. There's quite a few. Games like that. I think was it not Call of Duty. Well, I think, does Call of Duty not do that? Do you not? Like you're about to die and the screen goes red and then you hide and then eventually.
Well, Halo was a groundbreaking game, wasn't it? Because it was the launch title of the new Xbox console.
Yeah,
and it was a futuristic shooter. So basically, you had an energy suit on. So basically, if you got shot, you'd think to yourself, well, I must have a shield generator that regenerates my energy then, mustn't I? And that's where that comes from. Going behind a rock, and then if nobody's firing at you, your health will come back eventually.
Yeah. But I don't think modern gamers, young gamers, they wouldn't last. They wouldn't have the patience for.
Oh, they'd look at Cauldron and they'd go, I ain't playing this simplistic game. And I'd say, simplistic? You sit in front of that then, and I bet you any money you've lost your 3 lives in under 5 minutes. If you think that this is an easy game, you go. Here's the joystick. You go mental with it. There you go. And they won't last 30 seconds.
Put them in front of bloody China Miner or Uridium or something. It'll just be like boom.
They'll always turn around and say, "Yeah, but it's a kiddies game," and I'll just turn around and say, "No, you're just saying that because you can't do it."
Yeah, but here's one. What is your favourite video game of all time?
Oh, how could you ask?
If somebody was going to come along and remove every single video game and give you just one game, it can be anything at all, what would it be?
See, that's the one where I'd
can only play one game.
Can you answer your own question then?
I was hoping you were going to give me your answer first. I don't know.
Yeah.
It would have to be. An arcade game.
Yeah.
Christ,
the thing about it is, Al, is that I have to look at it like it would have to be an arcade game, because if it was a story-driven game, I'd get bored of the story. An arcade game has got an element of skill. So I automatically am going through my head going, what's the arcade game that I'm going to turn around and say, right, that's the one game that I want to.
Yeah, I think for me, I mean, there's lots of arcade. I love Robotron. I love Berserk. It would have to be a toss-up between probably Galaxian or Defender, and I think I would probably err towards Defender because it's just a brutal game, and it's a game that the more you play, you're going to get better. I think I would probably go with Defender. I think.
Yeah, and I think the two that came into my mind straight away were Ghosts and Goblins and Robotron. You see, I love twin stick shooters, but I'm not very good at them. And I like a platform game that's got a bit of a edge to it. And Ghosts and Goblins to me has a bit of an edge to it. Like you've got to go through that game twice, right?
Aye.
And I've never done that yet, right? So which do I go for? Do I go for the hard as nails platformer game, or do I go for the out and out shooter? And I think I'd probably go for Robotron because I like the twin stick. And
It's a bit like asking me to pick who's my favourite. What one of my mates has got the best YouTube channel?
But it's obviously me, isn't it? I am the stay. I am the stay point for Sunday until Sunday night, and then it comes over to you.
Right, moving swiftly on. I'll not ask you to pick who's got the better channel, me or Panther. Right, anyway, I wouldn't pick It would have to be Defender. Let me see. Ox is asking, has anyone picked up any retro stuff this week? I was talking about that in the Waffle, which is going to come out at some point when I can be asked to put it out. I've not bought anything retro wise for a long time. There's simply very nice. When did you get that
for a tenner?
What did you say there? £10?
Yeah, it cost me exactly £10 because, as I told the Discord channel, I had a £100 Argos voucher burning a hole that basically needed to be spent by end of next month or something. And they cocked up on my previous order, so they gave me a 10% discount on my next order, and so the price of the product is 115 quid, which meant they had to not only give me 10% off, but they also took my £100 voucher, which meant I had to pay them. I think I had to give them 10 quid.
You know what? I was given two cards. That's what they're called.
Yeah.
I've got two of them, and I notice Argos does them. I mean, when does it expire? I think you can check to see how much is on it. It expires 25. I'm going to have a look and see how much is on these.
You tend to find that those cards can be used at multiple stores, because that's what we had at work. When I did some good work for the Ministry of Justice, they kept saying, we're sending you a gift card. And when I clicked on the link, it said, we cover all of these shops. And it was like 50 of them. There was Iceland, there was Argos, there was all of these. They didn't send me out the card. They sent me an email with a barcode on it that said, take this to any store. Here's the pin for it. And this voucher is 50 quid, and it's 50 quid for any of these stores. So I basically just decided I'll use Argos. And I thought to myself, there's nothing that I really want because I've got a memory card and I've got a hard drive. And I just turned around to myself, well, people are saying that this A500, although not the best, it's getting better. I thought to myself, this thing's only going to cost me 10 quid. I'll have that then.
I mean, what I was saying is there's absolutely nothing. Well, apart from the Mister, but we're not going to talk about that at all. You can't get that. There's nothing at all. I've not bought anything off eBay for a long time. There's nothing that I'm looking for. There's nothing that I want. But I think these cards have been burning a hole in my pocket, and I'm going to end up forgetting about them. So I might just have a look and see how much I've got in them and get that thing. Just when I'm on talking about these little mini systems, the original PlayStation 1 came out, and it was panned. You know, I think
Oh, it was. It was
it was.
universally panned.
Yeah, I think a lot of the games. I think the emulation wasn't very good. I think the games that they picked weren't the greatest. But apparently, it's now a really good system to get. You can get one for probably about 30 quid on Gumtree on eBay, but you can download a file, stick it on a USB drive, pop it in, and it will install as an emulation station, which is like what the Raspberry Pi runs, and you can copy. You can literally just get yourself a 256 gig SD card. You can drag all the images and pictures onto it and just put it in, and boof, there's none of this pissing about having to hack it. You just got a piece of, you just download the thing, stick it in a USB drive, and it turns it into a really, really good.
I really was tempted to get one, because the story behind it is that everybody was looking forward to this PlayStation that came out. When it came out, it wasn't the best build quality, but the thing that pissed everybody off was, regardless of whether you were in America or whether you were in Britain, the Americans got British titles, and that meant that they were running slower than the games that they thought that they remembered.
Yeah.
And then somebody hacked it, and there were then 3 different hacks for this console. And then suddenly somebody got the idea of selling these USB sticks called Cool Blue or something, and they had something like 250 PlayStation 1 games on it, and they were labeled up as arcade, sports, and all of this sort of stuff. So you'd buy yourself this memory stick that cost £5 more than it would be if it was blank, and then basically you plugged it into the front port of the because it had to be one of the ports. It couldn't be on both ports. I think it had to be the left USB port, and all of a sudden you had a carousel of around about 250 games, and everybody was then buying them as much as they could, because it was so easy to add the games for it, and they were running at the right speed, because you'd download the ROMs that were for your country.
Yeah, apparently this thing also when this little bit of hardware or software, it installs emulation station. It allows you to drag and drop all these games, and it also installs RetroArch. And apparently the emulator is much better than the one that it kind of comes pre-installed with. So Ox is saying here he picked up where is it? Where's the Oxmeister? A pristine slick stick joystick for £7 from eBay. Yeah, that's a nice little joystick. And they're also talking about the TAC Scan, which was quite a futuristic looking joystick. It had a really small little shaft quite at the back. Really, really nice looking. They go for daft money now on eBay.
Well, that's what I thought Panther had, but it wasn't called a TAC 2. It was called something else. But I said I was sure that was called TAC Panther, and he said no. They did do a similar one though.
Panther did show me his joystick when I was down seeing him actually. So
yeah.
So nice one. Right, how are we doing for time? Right, I think we'll go for another 5 minutes. I don't want to keep you guys on. Like, I actually want to maybe watch a film as well. Let's see.
Oh, you're gonna watch out. You're gonna watch Elvis.
I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but I was quite looking forward to seeing it. And Lee and I were going to go and see it. Then she got the chance to go with her pal to see it. I said, "Well, you can." She goes, "Oh, it's all right. I'll go with you as well." And she saw it and she said, "I don't want to go to see it with you because it's not very good." So, looks like I'm bloody going myself.
Apparently, there are 2 minds to that film. There are some that are really bigging it up, and there are others that are turning around saying it weren't what I thought. And I think it's a little bit like that Elton John Rocket Man. You're expecting it to be something that it's not, and if it ends up being a musical, you're disappointed. And if you're expecting it to be a biography, then you're disappointed, because it's a little bit of everything, and without it, somebody take it like this. Somebody turned around and said, "I'd rather go and watch the documentary on Sky Arts of one of his concerts than see this film." Somebody said, and I went, "Oh, that doesn't sound very good." There you go.
Mm-hmm. Apparently, my volume is a lot louder than yours. I don't know. I know the volume in the headsets isn't. If you can turn yours up a wee bit, because I don't really know how to turn mine down.
I'll try.
Don't know. Moonstone. Moonstone's a kind of beat 'em up game with knights, is it not?
I don't know. I'm trying to find my microphone now. Hang on.
I don't know how to turn mine down. I could just try and talk a bit. I do talk too loud, I have to admit. That's a family trait.
Is that better, everyone? Is that?
Yes, yeah, that sounds a bit louder.
Okie dokie.
Good. Did you ever play Darkseid on the Amiga?
Yep. I remember playing Banshee Darkseid. Darkseid
was it was a very, very dark game. You kind of wake up and you've got a pounding headache, and it was. I always felt that the Amiga didn't quite have the grunt to kind of do it justice, because the animation wasn't the greatest.
I think at this particular point they were also bringing them out for the PC, even if it was DOS, and it was possibly EGA, and the PC had more grunt, even if it didn't have the graphics to do it sometimes.
Yeah.
So I think really they were being, what's the word? Optimistic that the machine would do it, and it wasn't. And although it probably looked like it was designed on the ST, I'm pretty sure a lot of these were designed on the PC, imported across and recoded, and then tried to be optimized, and then they couldn't optimize them.
And I think, if I remember rightly, it came out in something like 4 discs as well.
Yeah.
Ox is asking if you could only keep 2 retro systems from your collection, what would you choose? Right, I'm assuming we're going to rule out MAME cabs. I mean, I would keep the PC, because in that way I could play everything anyway. But I'm assuming we're not counting these. If I could only keep 2 original systems, what would they be?
Well, you see, when I come to that, it's almost identical for me, because my first love was a Commodore 64 and my next love was an Amiga, because I'd had a VIC-20 and all of those, and I had a nostalgic bent for them. But the Commodore 64 I had for 6 years, and the Amiga I had for 5 to 7 years. So when you're talking about a big chunk of your 20s with the 2 major machines being the 64 and the Amiga, then you're going to really say those are the 2 systems that I'm going to want back, because you had the biggest chunk of time with them.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would probably err towards these 2 as well. But then I've always said that if I could only have one system, and you get every single game with it, it would probably be the Xbox 360, because there are just so many good games, and you can play. There's a lot of kind of retro titles as well. Would I be happy just playing the C64? I'm a massive C64 fan, but as I've said before, well,
that's like cheating, though, Al, isn't it? I mean, it's like having a guest on Desert Island Discs, and they said, right, if you could only have 1 CD on this desert island, what would you have? And they turn around and say, I'll have Now 10 or something, right? Because it's got
I know what you mean.
Got 48 tracks from different artists on it, rather than the one thing they were expecting, which is the one artist. Are you going to have a Proclaimers album on there? No, I'll have a Now album.
Yeah. I mean, the thing about the C64, I mean, we did an 8-parter on sort of 114 good games, and there's probably another 114 we could play. But I don't know. Would I be happy just playing the C64 from now until I kick the bucket? I don't know. I mean, it's the same with the Amiga.
You couldn't turn around and say the C64 and a PC, because the PC can emulate all the other stuff. So
that's exactly.
And that is a retro system, because there are 486s, Pentium 1s. You could actually turn around now and say the early PCs are now retro. So you wouldn't be wrong anyway.
Yeah, I do think, Yeah, I don't know. I think it probably would be the Xbox 360. I think if it was one, but if it was two retro systems, then it would be the C64
So
or the Amiga.
a hacked 360 is what you're saying, isn't it? I want a hacked 360 that can play every game, plus I could basically put an emulator on it. Yeah, I got you.
But if I could take a MAME cab along, it's a no-brainer. I would pick a MAME cab. Absolutely, every day of the week.
So can I just quickly ask what program you're going to be watching when you turn us off then today, Mainmeister? Are you going to watch the Lazarus Project like I
I
told you
can't.
to?
Well, I'll need to speak to you about that. I've been unable to find it, shall we say? So yeah, I'll need to. We'll take this off here.
Okay.
There's another game. There's another program that I've been recommended called The Juice, or as in DE. Was it
Oh, the
DEU?
Deuce. The
The Juice.
Deuce.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've heard of it. I haven't watched it.
Aye, a guy at my work said it's maybe pretty good. So yeah, and I also want to watch. I've not been able to. I've not got it. So what was that one we spoke about with him out the Evil Dead? What's his name again?
Oh, Bruce.
Yeah, Bruce.
Campbell.
Bruce. You were going to say Bruce Banner. Bruce
And
Campbell.
it was Imhotep.
Bubba.
Not Imhotep.
Yeah, I want to.
Bubba Hotep or something. Oh,
Yeah, I want to find that. Craig Flanagan's going to stick with his C16 so he can die in eternal hell playing Green Beret.
And he can die knowing that he's the only one with that machine left.
Was it you? It was actually yourself, Dale. You were talking about the Plus 4. It's actually quite a nice looking machine, wasn't it?
I think the Commodore 16 and the Plus 4 are great machines, and that's why I take the piss out of Craig, because it's like it's not that bad. The C16 and the Plus 4, if you think about it, the C16 was supposed to be 40 quid when it was to be marketed, when it came out. The Plus 4 was supposed to be £99. That's all it was, and it was designed by the bloke that designed the Commodore 128. That's how good the engineering was on that product. The problem was Jack Trammell left. There were too many chiefs and not enough Indians, is that old expression. And the marketing team didn't get the memo that said that this machine is cheap, and they tried to market them as business machines. The Plus 4 that was supposed to be a £99 product suddenly ended up being a £399 product.
Is that right? Yeah.
Competing against the 128. Commodore's big flaw was always the marketing department.
Yeah.
They didn't understand. Well, they did. They understood too much that they could get a shitload of money using X parts from all around their warehouses. So of course they used the old bread bin from a VIC-20 and all of this sort of stuff, and then they charged you premium rates for it. But everybody started to wake up that that's not the way to go. Because
yeah.
A Commodore 16 looks like a VIC-20, and that product was starting to sort of like age so badly that, Atari died that way. I mean, if you think about it, there was the 2600, then there was the 5200, the 7800, all backwardly compatible with the old 2600. And at the end of the day, people were going, this is the same product I'm buying over and over again, and the new games that are coming on it aren't as good as the stuff that I can get on another system. So why do I want to buy it?
That's what Alan M's saying there. He's got a good point. The C16 Plus 4 and C128 were launched just as the 16-bit era was about to begin.
Yeah, exactly. You see, the Commodore literally came in through the back door, bought the Amiga company from under Atari's nose, and they brought their ST out about 6 months before the Amiga came out, because the Amiga didn't have the software available. It hadn't written the operating system yet. So basically, the only reason the ST got any traction at all was it came onto the market 6 months early, but it had a terrible sound chip. They hadn't designed a sound chip because they just didn't have the engineers to design that type of chip. I mean, remember it had J Minor on the Amiga. J Minor wrote the Atari 2600 graphic chip. I mean, how ahead of its time was that chip?
Yeah, actually, Craig's making a valid point. He's saying that the C16 came out in 1984. Is that the case? No,
It's
right?
84, 80, it's 84, 85, but this is what I was trying to say to you the other day, Alan, that some people will say the Commodore 64 came out in the beginning of 1982, and there will be other people that will turn around and say, no, it wasn't. It was the end of 1982. That's because it's one of the first computers that had a worldwide launch. They were launched at different dates in every country. The Spectrum only really got traction in Britain. Does anybody know what the launch date was of the Spectrum in America? Because it was done by Timex over there.
Yeah. How Commodore 128? I never really had any. One mate had it, and every time I went to see him, he always had it in Commodore 64 mode because there was there any how powerful was the Commodore 128? For games, what did it have? It had a SID chip in it, didn't it? Yeah, it did.
Yes, it had a newer revision of the SID chip, but basically, its importance to the Commodore 64 was really from a point of view that it had a TED chip in it, which meant that it could have 80 columns. It was like a word processor. So
for word processing,
it really couldn't run at any speed, but it did have a Z80 coprocessor in it. So where the Commodore 64 has got a 6502 or 6510 chip in it, which is an early 8-bit chip, it did have a Z80 chip in it as well, and that's what powers your Spectrum.
There's Ox is saying Commodore 128 had 2 processors. So could that have done like Elite better?
Yeah, well, basically, it had the VIC chip that was inside it was faster. The clock speed could be increased and maintained at Commodore 64 rates, so you can go faster than a Commodore 64. But if you access 64 mode, it would be locked at 1 megahertz, a slow speed. If you put it into 128 mode, it was faster. But then there was nothing that would, you couldn't load a Commodore 64 game in 128 mode. So what's the point?
Yeah,
And the problem with it is that nobody was designing games for the 128. If you have a look, I think you'll find that Mastertronic did a couple, Codemasters did a couple, but everybody was writing for the base machine, which was the Commodore 64.
Yeah, I've got a game base for the 128. I have to say it was bloody. It was awesome having is it Michael Hardman popping into the stream on Sunday. I've never met the guy, but he's the guy that's designed a lot of the game bases, and it was awesome to see him popping into the stream.
That was good, wasn't it?
That was nice. Let me have a quick look. I mean, what is the most?
Most 128 games as well were just extra levels.
Yeah. What was the what is the most impressive technically Commodore 128 game? Would you say?
Oh no, I had a 128, but I didn't really use it as much as the Commodore 64 because as soon as I got the 128, I then started to get an A1000, and then it turned into a nothing machine to me. I can't think of one really that impressed me.
I'll tell you what. Let me. I'm going to share the screen. Let's have a look.
If I remember rightly, I think Mercenary ran a little bit faster.
Right, there's the C128 game base thing. Wait a minute. Let me just if we add some extra columns.
Add the year column in. Add the year column in for me, just so that I can see that it's not a Commodore 64 game, but shown as 128. Because you'll know if it was designed specifically for the 128, because it'll be a later release.
Right, there we go. If we put in year.
So if you see some there 1987 and stuff, then I'd say, yeah, those might be proper 128 games, that have
right, these are all So there's all this 128. I don't know. Can you read it? Can you see them though?
It just says unknown. I can make out the word unknown.
Right.
But I can't make out much else.
There's no years. It's not really up. It's not been. All right. There's very few I've got. Right. Listen, I'll put it into Software House.
Yeah.
Right. It doesn't appear to actually have. It doesn't appear to have very much in it. Right. So what have we got? You've got. If I move that over there. How do I move that? I don't know if you can do that. Let's have a look. Alley Cat. There's a enhanced version of Alley Cat. Don't know what the difference was. Arkanoid.
Yes, I think that had enhanced sounds and a few more levels, if I remember rightly.
Battle Chess. There's a Battle Chess.
Yeah, that might have been interesting. That would have had probably extra frames of animation because it would have used more RAM, you see. So you'd have been able to.
What's all this here? It says Bubble Bobble Dual Boot. Does that mean it had the C64 and the...
Yeah, the 64 and the 128 on the same disc.
Because
if you remember rightly, you could switch the machine on with the disc in, and it would then choose which one to load. Or otherwise, most people turned it on by holding the Commodore key down, and it would boot up into Commodore 64 mode or whatever. You know?
So I remember getting a copy of that off my mate. I think that was about 50 quid or something. Flight Simulator.
Yeah, they always were though. The flight simulators expensive.
Yeah. So there was
I can't remember if Damocles or Mercenary had special 128 versions. I can't remember.
No, it doesn't appear in this.
Yeah.
Not to say they could rate hackers. Oh, there's hackers. I don't know what that is.
See, you can see how the resolution on that other one. That's like TED mode. Look.
That.
Right, because it's 80 columns wide. Look.
Yeah.
So that isn't an actual 128 game. That's probably a GEOS game. You know, a game that used to run on an older IBM XT that you can now run on a 128.
Yeah. So there's not really. I think.
But isn't it amazing that the Spectrum 128 came out and they actually designed two different games? But the Commodore 128 came out and hardly anybody developed anything for it.
Well, wait a minute. This looks interesting. I'm going to run this. Tell you what. Wait a minute. I'm going to click on no. I'm going to unshare this for a second, and then I'm going to.
Yeah. Okay.
Just that looks interesting. Where are we? Share screen, share audio, think. Right, try this. It might not work. Direct 3D number of adapters. What the hell?
It might be that. Oh. Whenever I see something that says D3D, I usually think to myself that the emulator needs updating or something because it's trying to use DirectX to draw graphics. Therefore, it's having problems.
Well, that's not doing anything. What the hell? Jesus Christ! Look at that.
Those are those sculptures that you used to buy your mum and dad when you'd been over to Portugal or something. Do you remember they're like cavemen, you know?
Right, sorry for why is that not changing it to?
Are you using WinVice or?
No, wait a minute. If I try that
or CCS, whatever.
No, I'll try WinVice. Attempt to run in fast mode, whatever that is.
That's a 128. That green screen there.
Oh, what the hell happened there? What the hell's it doing?
I don't know.
Oh.
Yeah, see, look. So it's got switch your monitor because the other thing that the 128 could do, by the way, is support two monitors.
You got the 4-2 monitors, right? I don't know what's going on here. Right.
So what it's telling you there, look, is it's asking you to switch to 40 column mode.
There you go. I'll let you choose, Delboy. What do you prefer, big tits, crazy face, or stylish logo?
Oh, it's got to be big tits, isn't it? Because we're a couple of tits.
Sorry, I'm just mean it a wee bit bigger.
It might not display because I don't know how you put your Commodore 128 into 40 column mode.
Right, I assume that's not working, is it?
Yeah, so I think that's not displaying correctly because you're supposed to put it into 40 column mode, and I don't know how you do that. That'll be a function key or something.
I don't know, with drive settings, video settings?
Video settings, it might be under there.
I haven't a bloody clue.
Yeah. I'll have to have a little play with my WinVice because I haven't loaded a 128 game on that for donkeys, so I'll be able to tell you, another time, but
Yeah.
I can't remember. But that was your Commodore 128 was so advanced it could support two monitors, like a 40 and an 80 column, and have them display at the same time, and all sorts of stuff. And that's why a lot of people have fell in love with the 128. You know what I mean? Nobody developed anything for it, but being as you could do everything with the Commodore 64 could, it was a lovely piece of kit. I'd like to have had a 128D. The disk drive version, I'm
surprised that somebody like Andrew Braybrook or that never sort of released like an enhanced version. Well,
like you say, again, when 128 came out, everybody was moving over to the Amiga and the Atari STs, so they weren't far away from each other.
Yeah, let's just give this a quick go. Kickstart. Don't know. So why does it open the two? Is that because it supports two screens or something?
Yeah, like I said, it supports two screens. One's 80 column and one's 40 column.
Right. I don't know what's going on there.
Dodger Stadium.
No idea.
Well, these all BBS. No, they're all BBS numbers. Look. Yeah, they are. They're all BBS numbers.
Bloody hell.
Get any key to load. Okay.
This is oops. Select courses. Hit space for practice courses. Right, we'll go for A.
Use a Commodore 1571 disk drive. Well, that loading screen's exactly the same as the Commodore 64 one. I can tell you that now.
Oh, no, for Christ's sake.
That's just the loader.
Right, anyway, listen, that's enough of that. That's for another that's for a Sunday stream. So listen, I think we'll call it a day. Yeah, listen, thanks for everybody for joining myself and Craig tonight, and massive thanks to you, Craig, for jumping in with absolutely hee-haw notice.
I can get my mum a cup of tea now.
Aye, go and get your mum a wee cup of tea and apologise her from me as well. So,
she loves you. You know that, don't you? She keeps saying, when's he coming down to see me? I've got half a double bed to rent. She's saucy, my mum. She's like that. I've got half a double bed to rent. That's so you'd be on the right hand side and she'd be on the left or something. You know what I mean? She put an advert in the paper that said wanted overnight meaningful relationship.
Right, moving swiftly on. I think we'll just draw this to a close. Yeah, before you say anything else.
Yeah.
Listen, thanks very much for watching, guys. I hope you have a nice Friday night. Have a great weekend, and I will be along on Sunday. I think from 7 o'clock until 9. And
bad stuff again, is it?
Yeah, what's that?
Is it bad stuff?
Yeah, I think we'll continue that. It's going to be some more crap games. So, join me then. And a massive thanks to you, Delboy, for making this entertaining.
Oh,
okay.
I try.
Take care, guys. Thanks for watching.
Bye.